My name is Pamela Mullings, and I'm 29 years old. Until 2 weeks ago, I was planning a wedding for next spring. My fiancé said it quietly, like he didn't want the words to echo. I don't think we should act engaged in public anymore. I answered, understood. I didn't ask why. I didn't argue. I didn't correct him. And that alone should have told me everything. We'd been together for 3 years, engaged for 8 months. Long enough that everyone else thought we were solid, long enough that the word forever had already been casually assigned to us by friends, family, even strangers. His parents loved me. My family adored him. Our friends joked that we were the couple that made everyone else look bad. Relationship goals: stable, safe. On paper, we were flawless. The conversation that cracked everything open happened on a Tuesday evening in his apartment. Technically, our apartment, though I'd kept my lease as a backup. I told myself it was practical. Month-to-month leases were unpredictable. Now I know it was instinct. We had just finished dinner. Nothing special. Pasta, salad, the kind of meal you make when life feels routine and dependable. We were cleaning up together like always. I washed. He dried. It was comfortable, familiar. Then he said, I've been thinking about something. I kept scrubbing the plate. Yeah, what's up? He didn't look at me, just folded the dish towel over and over in his hands. I don't think we should act engaged in public anymore. I stopped moving but didn't turn off the water. Just stood there, letting it run over porcelain while my chest tightened. Okay, I said after a beat. He looked up startled. That's it. What else is there? I replied calmly. You don't want to act engaged. I heard you. He waited, clearly expecting more. A protest, a plea, a fight. You're not upset, he asked. I didn't say no. I said nothing. Because what would being upset have accomplished right then? He'd already made the request. The damage was already done. We finished cleaning in silence. That night I barely slept. His words replayed on a loop, growing heavier every time. Engaged people who want to be engaged don't ask to hide it. They don't feel suffocated by commitment. They feel proud of it. Over the next few days, the things I'd been ignoring came into focus. The way he tilted his phone away when texting. The sudden increase in after-work drinks. The way wedding planning only came up if I forced it into the conversation. On Thursday morning, he reminded me about dinner with his parents that weekend. And maybe he added casually, let's not talk about wedding stuff. I told him we're still figuring things out. That was the moment something inside me went quiet. On Friday afternoon, I made a decision. I went to a jeweler not to resize his ring. Mine. I'd wanted one too when we got engaged. A visible symbol that we were choosing each other equally. Simple, unflashy, something I wore every day. How long will it take? I asked. A few hours. Perfect. I picked it up at 5:30, and inside it, engraved where no one else could see, were 3 words. He said no. I didn't put it back on. Saturday was coming, and I was done pretending I didn't know what that meant. Saturday arrived with the kind of false normalcy that only exists right before something breaks. He was chatty in the car, filling the space with office gossip and a story about a ridiculous email chain at work. I responded when it felt appropriate, nodded when expected, laughed in the right places. From the outside, we probably looked like the same couple everyone had always known. Inside, I felt like I was watching us from a distance already removed. He never once glanced at my left hand. Or if he did, he chose not to see what was missing. We pulled into his parents' driveway right at 6. His mother opened the door with a smile that always felt genuine, the kind that made you believe she meant it when she said she was happy you were there. She hugged me, warm and familiar. His father shook my hand, asked how work was going, made a joke about how time was moving too fast. All the usual rituals, all the things that had once made this place feel like a second home. His sister arrived shortly after with her husband and their 2 kids. The house filled with noise, shoes kicked off by the door. Children running ahead to claim the living room, overlapping conversations. I let myself get distracted kneeling on the floor with the kids as they showed me their new toys. For a few minutes, I almost forgot why my chest felt tight. Dinner was roast chicken, just like always. Family style passed from hand to hand. His mother was mid-sentence, asking his sister about something work-related when she stopped. Her eyes were fixed on my hand as I reached for the salad bowl. Pamela, she said slowly, where's your ring? The table went still. Every sound seemed to drop away at once. Forks paused midair. Conversations died unfinished. I felt everyone's attention land on me, then slide toward him. I had it resized, I said calmly. Picked it up yesterday. I decided not to wear it anymore. He went pale. What? He asked. Why wouldn't you wear it? I didn't look at him when I answered. I looked directly at his mother. Because he asked me not to act engaged in public anymore, I said. And wearing an engagement ring feels like acting engaged. The silence that followed was different, heavier. His mother's expression shifted from confusion to concern. His father set his fork down carefully, like he was bracing for something he didn't want to hear. I did, he said quickly. I just meant, you asked me on Tuesday, I continued evenly, to stop acting engaged in public. You said it was too much pressure, too many expectations, so I respected that. His sister frowned. You told her that. He stood abruptly. Can we talk about this privately? I finally looked at him then. Why? You're embarrassing me. No, I said. You embarrassed yourself when you made the request. This is just the truth. His father cleared his throat. Is this true? He looked around the table at the faces that had once felt like an extension of our future. He hesitated. You're making it sound worse than it is, he said finally. I just needed space to breathe. Space from what his sister asked? From everyone asking about the wedding, he snapped. From opinions, from expectations. His mother frowned. So instead of telling people to back off, you told her to hide the engagement. He didn't answer. I pushed my chair back. I should go. Thank you for dinner. Wait, his father said. Let's slow down. There's no need for this to end tonight. There's nothing to slow down, I replied. He made his position clear. I'm just responding to it. I walked out without looking back. The drive to my apartment felt unreal, like I was moving through a version of my life that no longer belonged to me. When I got inside, the silence was overwhelming, but also strangely comforting. This place was still mine. I hadn't imagined the need for it. That night, my phone lit up. 14 missed calls, 26 messages, anger, confusion, apologies, accusations. I read them all. I didn't respond. Around midnight, the buzzer sounded. Let me up, his voice came through the intercom. We need to talk. Not tonight. Please, I need to explain. You already did, I said quietly. You don't want to act engaged. Message received. That's not what I meant. Then figure out what you did mean, I said. Because I'm done guessing. I hung up. He buzzed 4 more times, then stopped. Sunday morning, his mother called. I'm sorry about last night, she said gently. That was a lot. It wasn't your fault, I replied. I know, she said. But I want you to know I think you handled it with more grace than most people could. I stared out the window at the quiet street below. I just told the truth. And sometimes, she said softly, the truth is the hardest thing to hear. When we hung up, I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at my hand. Bare. And for the first time, I understood that the ring hadn't been the commitment. Honesty had been. And he'd already let go of that. Monday morning arrived without ceremony, like the world hadn't noticed that my future had collapsed over a roast chicken and a missing ring. I went to work. I answered emails. I sat through meetings and nodded at the right moments. From the outside, I was functioning. Inside, everything felt muted, like someone had turned the volume down on my emotions, just enough to keep me upright. Around lunchtime, my phone buzzed with a text from his sister. We need to talk. I owe you the truth. I stared at the screen longer than necessary before replying. Call me. She didn't waste time with small talk. Pamela, the reason he asked you not to act engaged, it wasn't about pressure. I closed my eyes. Then what was it about? There's a woman at his office, a coworker. She's been flirting with him for a while. The words landed slowly, like each one needed permission to exist before the next could follow. He didn't want to shut it down, she continued. He liked the attention, but he also didn't want to cheat. So instead of choosing, he tried to create this middle space, a place where he could pretend he was single, I said flatly. Yes, I felt something inside me finally settle, not relief, clarity. Did he do anything with her? I asked. He says no, just flirting, lunches, texting, enough to make him wonder if the grass was greener. I let out a quiet breath. So he asked me to stop acting engaged so he wouldn't have to lie. Her silence confirmed it. I told him he was being selfish, she said. That he didn't get to keep you as a safety net while he explored his options. He cried. Said he messed up. Said he wants to fix it. Does he want to fix it because he loves me, I asked? Or because he got caught? She hesitated. I honestly don't know. That evening, he showed up at my apartment again. This time I let him in. He looked wrecked. Eyes red. Hair pulled back carelessly. He was wearing one of my old hoodies, the one I'd left at his place months ago and never bothered to take back. I need to tell you something, he said the second the door closed. I already know, I replied. Your sister told me. He froze. She told you about her? Yes. I didn't do anything, he rushed out. I swear. Nothing physical. You did something worse, I said. You kept the door open. He stared at me confused. You asked me to stop acting engaged so you could explore attention from another woman without technically cheating. I continued. You wanted to feel wanted without giving anything up. That's not what I was doing, he said weakly. That's exactly what you were doing. He started crying then. Full body sobs, like the weight of his choices had finally become too heavy to carry. I was scared, he said. Getting married felt final. And then she started complimenting me, and it felt good, and I didn't know how to handle it. So you handled it by lying to me, I said quietly. By lying to your parents. By asking me to hide our engagement so you could decide if I was still enough for you. He couldn't look at me. If I hadn't told the truth at that dinner, I continued, how long would this have gone on? He didn't answer. You would have kept me waiting, I said, hanging on while you figured out whether leaving me was worth it. I love you, he whispered. I don't want to lose you. Then why didn't you shut it down the first time she flirted with you? I asked. Why didn't you say you were engaged? He opened his mouth, closed it again. I think you should go, I said. His eyes widened. Are we done? I don't know, I replied honestly. But I know I can't marry someone who isn't sure they want to marry me. And you've made it very clear that you're not. He left without arguing. The next 2 weeks were brutal. He texted, called, apologized, promised, asked for another chance. I didn't block him, but I didn't give him hope either. Short replies, boundaries, silence where silence was necessary. Then his mother called again. She asked if I'd come to dinner, just me and his parents. I almost said no, but something told me this conversation mattered. When I arrived, his father opened the door looking tired in a way that had nothing to do with age. We just want you to know, his mother said later, coffee warming her hands, that whatever you decide, we understand. I nodded, sensing there was more. He ended things with her, she continued, told her he was engaged. He's in therapy now, trying to understand why he did this. That's good for him, I said. I hope he figures it out. Do you think you could ever trust him again? His father asked gently. I thought about it. I don't know, I said. Trust isn't something you decide to give back. It's earned. And I don't know if I have the energy to wait and see if he earns it. They didn't argue. They didn't push. When I left, his mother hugged me tightly. You deserve someone who never makes you question your place, she whispered. I walked out knowing something was ending, not with anger, but with clarity. The days after that dinner blurred together in a way that made time feel unreliable. Some mornings I woke up convinced it had all been a misunderstanding, something that could still be repaired if I just explained myself better, listened harder, softened my edges. Other mornings I woke up with a heaviness in my chest that told me with brutal clarity that this wasn't confusion anymore, it was grief. He kept reaching out, not desperately at first, carefully, as if he was testing how much space he was allowed before I pulled away completely. Short messages, apologies without demands, promises without timelines. I didn't block him. I also didn't engage beyond what felt necessary. I'm okay. I need time. I can't talk about this yet. Every response felt like I was drawing a boundary with shaking hands. About a week later, he asked if we could meet, just to talk. No expectations, no pressure. I said no, not because I didn't care, but because I cared enough to know that seeing him again too soon would pull me backward into a version of myself that kept making excuses for him. A few days after that, his mother called. Again. This time she didn't apologize. She didn't explain. She just asked if I'd be willing to come over for dinner that Saturday. Just me. Just them. I hesitated. I won't pressure you, she said quickly. I promise. We just want to talk. So I went. The house felt different without him there. Quieter. Like something essential had been removed, leaving behind a hollow echo. His father looked older than I remembered, lines etched deeper around his eyes. His mother brought out coffee and asked if I was eating, sleeping, taking care of myself. The questions parents ask when they know something has gone wrong and they don't know how to fix it. We want you to know, she said finally, that whatever you decide, we respect it. I nodded, sensing there was more. He told us everything his father added. About the coworker, about what he asked of you, about how wrong it was. They didn't minimize it. They didn't defend him. That mattered more than I expected. He's devastated, his mother said quietly, but we also understand that devastation doesn't undo harm. I felt my throat tighten. He ended things with her immediately, she continued, told her he was engaged, asked her never to contact him again. He started therapy, not to win you back, but because he needs to understand why he did this. That's good, I said honestly. I hope it helps him. Do you think, his father asked gently, that you could ever trust him again? The question hung between us, heavy and sincere. I don't know, I said after a long pause. Trust isn't something you can just decide to give back. It's earned, over time. And right now, I don't know if I have the energy to wait and see if he earns it. They nodded. No disappointment, no argument. When I left that night, his mother hugged me tightly at the door. "You've been nothing but good to him," she whispered. "And whether you stay or go, you deserve someone who never forgets that." On the drive home, I realized something painful and freeing at the same time. Even if he changed, even if he grew, even if he never repeated this mistake, it wouldn't erase the fact that when it mattered most, he hesitated. And I was no longer willing to build a future on hesitation. 6 weeks passed. Not quickly, not cleanly. They passed the way grief always does, unevenly. Some days slid by without much weight. Others felt impossibly heavy, like every memory had decided to surface at once, just to remind me what I'd lost, or what I'd almost lost myself to. Sometime during the 3rd week, I finally said the words out loud. "We need to officially end the engagement." I didn't say them in person. I didn't say them on the phone. I sent them in a message that took me an hour to type and 10 seconds to send. Clear, calm, no accusations, no hope hidden between the lines. He responded almost immediately. "I understand." That was it. No bargaining, no begging, and in a strange way, that hurt more than if he'd fought me on it. A few days later, I asked for the ring back. Not because I wanted to sell it, not because I wanted to punish him, but because I couldn't move forward while that symbol, something meant to represent certainty, was still in his possession. We met briefly to exchange it. Neutral ground, a quiet coffee shop neither of us had any memories tied to. He looked different, not just sad, smaller, like someone who finally understood the cost of indecision. He slid the ring across the table without argument. "I'm really sorry," he said softly. "I know that doesn't fix anything." "No," I replied, "but it's honest, and that matters." That was the last time we spoke face to face. A week later, I got an email from him. Not a plea, not a justification, not a carefully worded attempt to reopen the door. Just an apology. He took responsibility fully, named what he'd done without softening it, acknowledged that he'd treated me unfairly, said he understood why I couldn't forgive him, wished me happiness, even if it didn't include him. It was the most honest communication we'd had in months. I didn't respond. Maybe I will someday, maybe I won't. I moved the rest of my things out of his apartment 2 weeks later. No ceremony, no tears, just boxes and quiet goodbyes to a life that had almost been permanent. The ring, the one with the engraving, sat in my dresser drawer. He said no. It wasn't entirely accurate. I was the one who ended things. But the meaning still fit. He said no to choosing me without hesitation. No to shutting the door when it mattered. No to being fully present in the commitment he'd asked for. His family still checks in on me. His sister texts every few days. His mother sent me a small care package last week, homemade cookies, and a note that simply said she was thinking of me. It's strange maintaining ties to a life you've stepped away from, but they were never the problem. As for me, I'm okay. Some days are harder than others. Some days, I miss what we had or what I believed we had. Other days, I feel relief so sharp it almost surprises me. Relief that the truth came out before vows, before shared mortgages, before children who would have learned what uncertainty looks like up close. Better to end an engagement than to survive a marriage built on doubt. The ring is still in my drawer. I tell people it's being resized. That's a lie. I just can't bring myself to wear any ring again, not yet. Maybe someday with someone else. Someone who doesn't need space from being chosen. Someone proud to say it out loud everywhere. Until then, I'm rebuilding, learning, paying attention to the red flags I once explained away. The table went still that night because everyone finally saw what I'd been seeing for weeks. The missing ring wasn't about jewelry. It was about truth. And sometimes the truth has to be visible before anyone is willing to acknowledge it. It's been long enough now that people have stopped asking how I'm doing in that careful, lowered voice way they use when they think someone might still be fragile. I'm not fragile anymore. I'm changed. The first few weeks after the engagement officially ended, everything felt unfamiliar. I'd been part of a we for so long that even small decisions, what to eat for dinner, what to watch at night, how to spend a Saturday, felt oddly heavy. Not because I missed him constantly, but because I was relearning how to listen only to myself. There were moments when loneliness crept in. Quiet evenings, empty weekends, times when I instinctively reached for my phone to share something small and funny, then remembered there was no one on the other end anymore. But there was also something else. Peace. Not immediately, not all at once, but slowly, steadily it settled in. I realized I wasn't bracing myself anymore. I wasn't scanning conversations for signs of distance. I wasn't wondering if I was asking for too much just by expecting to be chosen fully. I didn't have to wonder anymore. His email stayed unanswered. Not out of spite, just because I didn't owe him closure beyond the honesty we'd already exchanged. Sometimes silence is the cleanest ending. His family still exists in my life in small, unexpected ways. A text from his sister asking how work is going. A photo from his mother of a recipe she thought I'd like. There's no awkwardness in it, just a quiet understanding that what happened wasn't something to be erased or rewritten. They saw it. They saw the truth the same night I finally said it out loud. I think about that dinner sometimes, not with anger, but with clarity. How strange it is that a single missing object, a simple ring, could bring everything into focus. How quickly a room can go still when a lie runs out of places to hide. The ring with the engraving still sits in my dresser drawer. He said no. At first those words hurt, then they grounded me. Because he did say no, not with his mouth, but with his choices, with hesitation, with silence when honesty was required, with a request that should never exist between two people who are truly ready to marry each other. And I said yes. Yes to myself, yes to clarity, yes to walking away before the cost became irreversible. Some days I miss the version of him I thought I was going to marry. Other days I feel deeply grateful that I met the version of him I actually would have married before it was too late. I'm not wearing a ring now. Maybe someday I will again, with someone who never asks me to make myself smaller so they can feel less conflicted. Someone who doesn't need space from commitment because commitment feels like relief, not pressure. Until then, I'm here, rebuilding, paying attention, trusting what I see instead of what I hope is true. The table went still that night because everyone finally saw what I'd already been living with. The missing ring wasn't a threat, it wasn't a stunt, it wasn't revenge.